I wanted to point something out, and I'm sure you've noticed it as well. Trinidad Chambliss has a lot of batted balls, right? He is 6 feet, like he's 6 foot. If he is 6 foot, he is 6 foot, like even true. And I was going to ask you about this because there was a few against LSU. We saw it against Arkansas, saw it against Tulane. And when you're playing the type of size that Georgia has, how much of a concern is that? I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. There's been a lot of batted balls for Trinidad so far this season.
It was a legitimate concern. He's not 6 feet. I know he's listed like that on the Ole Miss roster, but he's not. I mean,
I try to give my boy the benefit. Yeah.
So if a team, as Washington State did a really good job of, turns Trinidad Chambliss strictly into a pocket passer, that's where he's most inefficient. And it's not just because of a lack of deep ball arm strength. It's also because of, like you said, his lack of height, because that is a legitimate issue. He has had a lot of balls knocked down to the line of scrimmage. So really for me, hearing Shock talk about Trinidad, also kind of go over the Georgia-Ole Miss matchup, his legs will be the most important determining factor early on of how this game goes. If Georgia corrals him in that way and forces him to try to push the ball downfield where he has always lacked elite traits, that's where the conversation about his effectiveness, and especially for a college football playoff team, or hopeful at 6-0, one of the only two remaining undefeated teams in the SEC, along with Texas A&M, to stay that way. For Trinidad Chambliss to be the quarterback, his legs have to really be the starting point. It's how Lane Kiffin has built his offense around it. So that's really what kind of predicated the struggles, in my opinion, against Washington State, is they took out that elite element from his game. So there is a possibility or an opening then for an Austin Simmons who could test teams more downfield. Don't forget, but when Austin was starting the first two games, Trinidad was coming in situationally. Well, situationally against Washington State, Trinidad was 1 for 5 on game-changing throws. I'm not saying he's not going to start against Georgia. He is. There still isn't a quarterback controversy. I'm just saying let Ole Miss fall behind by 2 touchdowns in Athens, and they haven't completed anything down the field, and they've eliminated the rushing component from his game. And see if there's not real pressure or consideration to go into Austin in that scenario, because Lane was just fine going with 2 quarterbacks for 2 games. You think he's not going to be just fine blending it in that way, especially if he has a deficiency, which is specifically deep ball passing for Trinidad Chambliss? And also, the lack of height has been a problem. They went 3 and out on one particular play where Keywan Lacey, I think, was wide open in the flat, and good read. He saw it. He tried to get it to him, but he threw it into a bit batted down ball at the line of scrimmage. That's a real issue while Austin is 6'4". So all of those things have to be considered. Neither quarterback is lacking warts. One of them has been strong, even in a bad start last week, finished strong enough, 20 for 29, 253, 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over, but also was bailed out from throwing an interception on a bad choice, on protecting the football and things like of that nature. So, I think it's a legitimate concern. More of a concern is, have teams, or did Washington State at least, because I think LSU tried to do it too, and Trinidad was better on those 50-50 opportunities that he took. Even the one that resulted in interception, that wasn't a bad decision. It was a 50-50 ball that sometimes you lose 50-50 balls. But Washington State really showed or did better than LSU even if his Ole Miss was looking past Washington State for Georgia, which they admitted, hey, we began preparing for them in our bye week.
Early in the week, they were already looking forward to Georgia. So.
Everybody to a man would probably admit they did not take that one the way they needed to. It happens. You played a full month at home. 3 out of those 4 games were primetime matchups, including Tulane. There was going to be a step back. The only people that didn't take a step back, honestly, were Ole Miss fans, save for the student section. They packed out Washington State. In old years, that would have never happened before. But
is that what's grinding your gears today?
No, it's grinding my gears today. Really?
Wait, hold on. Save it, please.
But
please,
anyway, yes, that is a legitimate concern. But like, there isn't. I want people to understand. I'm not trying to create a quarterback controversy. These are the considerations that are happening right now. I mean, Trinidad is the starter. He will start against Georgia, but it is not settled law anymore because the areas in which Trinidad is limited. Opponents have targeted those. It's just like when a rookie comes up and starts really hot in Major League Baseball, and then the book gets out on them. You hear that idiom or whatever it's called, like that phrase all the time. The book's out on him now. How he's going to make adjustments. Trinidad's going to have to make adjustments. He had to do it against Washington State and rally, but that's a lesser opponent. Georgia is Georgia. Now that's not the same Georgia of years past. Honestly, there's no team that scares you on Ole Miss's schedule. Looking down, Oklahoma, terrible last week, and John Mateer seemed to come back too early. We're going to cover a lot of that, I'm sure. But there is no team that Ole Miss can't beat on the schedule, just like there's no team that can't beat Ole Miss, including State, if Trinidad Chambliss isn't that guy that can protect the football and do elite things with his legs. And against Washington State, they took that out of his game, and when he became a pocket passer, it wasn't pretty. So let's see what Georgia does this weekend with it and how he adjusts to that, because the book is now, in a way, out on him.
Yeah, I think for me, the whole Trinidad thing against Washington State, a lot of it, here's something that I don't know, I haven't heard people talk about a lot, but teams certainly do this. I think there are certain looks they were not trying to show that they're saving for Georgia. There's a lot of stuff that, like, Lane Kiffin wants this win. Going into Athens, where you got absolutely just destroyed 2 years ago, and being able to come out with a win would be remarkable. And this is Ole Miss's best matchup against a Georgia team since they played back in 2016 at the Vaught. Chad Kelly and Hugh Freeze in 2016. Because back in 2023, that was a terrible matchup for Ole Miss, and they got absolutely destroyed. A year ago, there were certainly things that Ole Miss exposed for Georgia, but going into that matchup, I still favored Georgia. This year, it's like, oh my God, this is your best opportunity to win in Athens in I don't know how many years. I don't know the last time Ole Miss has won in Athens. I don't know if it's happened. I'd have to check history books. But it's a great matchup for Ole Miss this year in Athens. To me, that's why some of the struggles you saw against Washington State happened, because they're very keyed in on certain things they're going to do against Georgia.
1989, 17-13.
1989, guys. So this huge opportunity, it's like we've mentioned, it's not easy to win there. They're going to be fired up too. My thing for Ole Miss, bro, at the end of the day, is I know the offense has got to perform and they got to score touchdowns. For me, it's this defense for Ole Miss getting to Gunnar Stockton, because Georgia has struggled to run the football. Chauncey Bowens is sort of coming along now where I'm starting to go, okay, maybe he might be able to put something together, but it's really predicated on Gunnar Stockton's success, whether that's as a runner or him pushing the ball down the field, which he can do, but you just got to be in his face all game, and he's tough. Like, you can get hits on him, he's going to get right back up. You got to be in his face all game long. I don't know. I love the way William Eccles is coming along, and you and I talked about him pretty much in depth when we were watching the LSU game, of how much we think he might be better than Xavier Harris, and Harris gets a lot of the credit oftentimes. But I need William Eccles in his face all game. Prince Will, I don't know if he's 100%. You better find a deep – like, you got to be in Gunnar Stockton's face all game long and say, Georgia, run the football on us. Run the football on us, and I think that's the key, because I do think Ole Miss will score some touchdowns. As we mentioned with Shock.
Against them that's how you take advantage of them defensively. I think the starting point, to be quite candid, Xavier Harris, man, they need more from you. They really do, because to be 6'7", 300-pound monster, you get blocked up way too easily, especially against Washington State, when you should be a constant down-to-down disruptor. But the knock on him is he's always been a take a play or two off kind of guy, and so far that's reared its head for Ole Miss through 6 games. Here's the deal, though. William Eccles has become a superstar. Cam Franklin has become a superstar. Finally got home for his first sack last week against Washington State. You're right. They have to generate more pressure. Prince Will keeps getting back there, but getting home. Did get home finally against Washington State on a more consistent basis. Deshaun Womack has disappointed since coming over from LSU. Had a boneheaded penalty, too, last week against Washington State. The pass rush, specifically not having Santerre and Perkins down rushing the passer as much as he was last year, is an All-American.
We got to get that going this week. Someone call Pete Golding and say, dial up some blitzes with Perkins, man. Like,
no more putting him in coverage and letting them just throw away from him, letting him go out in the
let
flat
him go in, and if he loses to Stockton, he loses to Stockton. But please, you got, like, this is the key to this game, is you do not let Gunnar Stockton do anything this week and say, Georgia, run the football on us. Run the football on us.
Because we can officially say, like, Santerre and Perkins has been Harold Perkins so far through 6 games. Like, 100%. Ole Miss has done to him what LSU did to Harold Perkins. Because, yes, Pete Golding is correct. They've forgotten more football than either of us will ever know. That's not what I'm saying.
No doubt.
That's not what we're getting at here. But I think Pete would say it's legitimate criticism when, yes, in their money year, the same year for Harold Perkins, they tried to do the same thing at LSU. Their linebackers more than they're not at the next level because of they're thin for their position. They're not down pass rushers in the NFL. So playing them in their more natural position for the next level makes sense then. Unfortunately, neither of them are particularly adept at that stuff. It takes away, or if they are, and some Terran's fine, but you're taking away his greatest strength, which is his pass rush, which is his ability to get after the quarterback. This is a preseason All-American, double-digit, 10.5 sacks last year to tie with Princely Umon-Mielen for the team lead, and that has been completely muted because you want him covering a flat. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Yes, long term, that's where he'll be. But for Ole Miss and his winning prospects in 2025-26, they got to get him down on the line more. And against Georgia, it's imperative because the not getting home and stuff like that has been a concern all year. You're getting closer now. You've actually got some productivity against a lesser team in Washington State. But Georgia, despite being not the Georgia of old, because there are no good teams in college football anymore, they can take advantage of you not getting home more so than anybody else that you've played so far, at least.
No doubt about it. Got to get to Gunner. And what I'm really excited to see is, so Georgia, we talk about not getting pass rush. We talk about their secondary being suspect. Georgia's linebackers are dogs. They are big. They are lengthy. They love to hit hard. I can't wait to see what Kewan Lacey does against those linebackers. Like that,
I'm surprised we didn't bless a heart for Kewan Lacey because that man is true stud. 24 carries for 142 yards, a career high last week against Washington State. It still felt like he was underutilized.
100%.
He should be getting the ball 10 more times as a pass catcher.
If they let Kewan Lacey run wild in Athens, Ole Miss is winning that game. I'm letting you know right now. Like and that's the big matchup here for me. I can't wait to see Georgia's linebackers against Kewan Lacey. Note, I didn't say Ole Miss's offensive line against. No, Georgia's linebackers against Kewan Lacey, because it don't matter if you hit the guy. He's gonna keep them legs churning. So I want to see. I want to see who wins, Ben.
In the country, I don't know if he's still second in the country behind Ahmad Hardy, who's got by far the most missed tackles of anybody. And Ole Miss brought him in for a visit. I bet you're thinking, oh, maybe he should have signed that one up while he was on campus, because imagine Ahmad Hardy and Kewan Lacey as a 1-2 punch for Ole Miss this year.
Yeah,
insane, and that could have really happened. But still, I mean, as a featured back, Kewan Lacey continues to answer the bell. Had 14 missed tackles forced last week against Washington State. Yes, it's Washington State, but when they needed him, he came through, and I think he's second only to Ahmad Hardy in the country at forced missed tackles, and Georgia is a different caliber of linebacking core that he's faced all year. So, yes, if you're talking about matchups, no doubt about it, because this Ole Miss offensive line has improved. Washington State was a step back, but again, everybody was going through the motions, in my opinion. If Ole Miss is playing, and it'll be motivated to play against Georgia, it's at Georgia. I mean, you heard Shock say it. He's absolutely right, and that's a former player. He's like, it's hard. It's hard for players to get up for that. So, you expect a different effort from them this week in Athens, and that includes an offensive line that up until Washington State had really taken significant steps forward. I think you can see something very similar to that this weekend in a very close game. It's a complete coin flip. I know that Georgia opens as like a 3.5-point favorite or something like that. That's about right. It's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em, but they should be slightly favored. But at the end of the day, neither of these teams have much of an advantage over the other. They both have significant warts, but if they do what they do well, the other side, it could get pretty ugly pretty quickly. Like if Ole Miss can really run downhill at Georgia, you're right. That plays toward them and what they do well, especially with Trinidad and his running capability at quarterback.